Well, I think we're here. Welcome to everyone to my first live webinar on Facebook, actually. It just said to me my wireless connection was not good, so hopefully it keeps going for us. But I'll try and keep this to 13 minutes. It'll be a miracle for me, but it could work. The first topic is an exciting announcement. Well, I better leave that to last. It's an exciting one. I'm excited. Second one, Adelaide, here we come again. I was there a couple of weeks ago and we had an interesting time there, didn't we, with the CMA presentation. It created a bit of controversy, but then that worked out quite well when we got to Sydney. And we had an excellent session with the Arona representative, John Wardle, who's very supportive of all of the natural practitioners. So more on that later. So Tuesday is going to be Vaccination for Pregnant Women Day, and at 5:30 p.m. I'll be there, hopefully some of you too. And I've just sent some questions, a lot of them, and I don't expect them to be all answered, to the Associate Professor Helen Marshall, who's the Deputy Director of the University of Adelaide. So that's where I'll be, and it's an interesting topic, giving whooping cough vaccine and influenza to pregnant women. Now, according to Channel 9 interview, lots of action here. According to Channel 9 last week, Professor or Associate Professor Marshall said that it's all safe and proven. So I'm pretty interested. I've done a little bit of homework too, and I won't share that with you. But I did put up a LinkedIn post, which has been shared on Facebook, I believe, and have a look at that. There's a lot of questions that have gone there, and they do relate to unanswered questions from another Royal Children. Oops, I didn't say that, did I? Live on Facebook. A hospital well known in a very large capital city has been unable to answer these questions for a couple of months, and including a paediatrician who said it's out of her scope. So all the questions I've asked come straight out of the Australian Immunisation Handbook, which looks like this, but you can also get it on the web. I think it's immunise.australia, maybe .gov.au, but if you Google Immunise Australia, you'll get there. So Tuesday in Adelaide, I'll stay until Thursday. I've got to eat, so if anybody wants to catch up with me on the Tuesday lunch, I'll be in by lunchtime. After the seminar, which finishes at 6:30, I'll aim for, say, a 7:30 dinner, and then I'll begin there on Wednesday if anyone wants to catch up. Definitely not for breakfast, but maybe for a walk, maybe in the morning. But I'll be around for lunch and dinner, and then I'm hoping to head to Sydney on Thursday, and we can have a chat to the Healthcare Complaints Commission, because guess what? For 4 years of regulating all you practitioners, natural in New South Wales, you've all been handing out the approved complaint form, haven't you? Got to be approved by the Director-General. Well, I discovered last week there's never been a form approved. So I've got one that I've been working on, and guess what? We might just see if we can get it approved in New South Wales, and then let's perhaps see if then the South Australian arm would like that one, as would Queensland. Victoria, of course, with beautiful Jill Hennessy in the news again. Jill, I see you having another crack at Malcolm Hooper, and well, good luck. ACCC this time. Well, that'll be the 11th regulator in 5 years, and Jill loves her science, so we'll find out how that prominent hyperbaric oxygen therapist fares with Jill. It was a tragic incident, by the way, anyone who did see the news, in relation to one of the patients who about 6 days after having treatment passed away. But anyway, he's had a long history, and the family are very supportive of the treatment he had over the past 3 years, and more of that will come out. But if you believe what you read in the papers, on the TV, well, good luck. It rarely is anything like what's happening in practice. Okay, so Tuesday we've talked about the pregnancy protection seminar. Interestingly, Associate Professor Marshall is a member of the Friends of Science. Now, some of you have heard about the Friends of Science. In fact, they've been around for 5 years, and I've actually discovered where they morphed from. And that's interesting, but that'll be another live video down the track. Well, let's wait until after Tuesday. But we've got the list of Friends of Science in Medicine. We'd like to see if any of you would like to help in dissecting where all these friends come from, and perhaps how many of them have got grants from the National Health and Medical Research Council, which happens to be the body administered by the Federal Health Minister. Lay, got a few problems with her too. But the grant for last year, would you believe that scientists in Australia have got about $893 million in grants from the NHMRC, which has ruled that there's no clinical science supporting any of the 17 natural therapies. And guess who? The first 9 I looked at, starting from the bottom of the 1,137 grantees, I looked at the bottom 9 on a spreadsheet I'm going to put up on my Facebook. The bottom 9, the very first one was, we might get to know him, he's clinical professor Guy Marks. How about that? In Sydney, Liverpool Hospital. He was lucky, he got $1.943 million in grants last year. Now, he's a friend of science. Would you believe that in the first 9 I looked at, this is just for last year, 1,137, I think, got money. The first 9, 3 were from the Friends of Science in Medicine. Isn't that interesting? The other 2 got over 5 million each, actually. So the total to the 3 friends that I looked at in the first 9 was $16 million of taxpayers' money for proven science. So that's going to be an interesting topic. So those of you, the practitioners who know very well, tuning in, there's a lot of work to do tabulating which of the Friends of Science have had grants over the last 5 years since they started in 2011. I wonder how much money they have got, the Friends of Science in Medicine. And of course, our illustrious Associate Professor Marshall did get a grant back in 2011 herself, a 4-year grant for just under $400,000. Yes, the speaker on Tuesday night in Adelaide, where I'll be, $400,000 grant. So I looked up what happened to her 4-year study she got in 2011, and unfortunately there's no information been lodged. So I'm sure there's an explanation, and I've asked for the explanation, and anyone who's seen me before wear the t-shirt, well, it's a bit like Mike Adams, I know, but I'm a lot older than Mike, and I'll probably never be a cross of Brandy Vaughan and Dr. Reamer either, but we all have our own style, and let's find out what happened to the $400,000 that Professor Marshall, Associate Professor Marshall, got 5 years ago. That'll be interesting. So I think we've got a little bit of a conflict coming between the NHMRC, that's the National Health and Medical Research Council, who, by the way, forgot to do their mandatories. Yes, the 55 mandatory guidelines before you recommend anything for doctors. Ah, darn. I don't know. Page 3 of this book. It's an accident, but they left it out of the immunisation handbook. Why would you want to put the 55 mandatory guidelines? Mandatory is only for natural health practitioners. There's no mandatory for anybody else in the system. It's only in the state-based health complaints legislation. Then it's mandatory that all you people that are following those 21 natural therapies, because I'm including chiropractic, osteopath, and also Chinese medicine, all of whom were attacked in the last Friends of Science Medicine newsletter, plus the 17 that got stitched up in the 2015 Private Health Research Review by the NHMRC again. Lucky Bill Shorten pounced on that lack of evidence, didn't he, for his election campaign? So there's a little bit of a conflict here. NHMRC, Friends of Science, possibly University of Adelaide. I wonder if we should have a lottery and you guess how many members of the Friends of Science come from the University of Adelaide. Well, I think I know the answer, but start guessing. It's a lot. So the city of churches. I love going to Adelaide. Back when I had some money, I used to race some unbelievable horses who used to go very quick with Colin Hayes and Peter Hayes, and always going to Adelaide. So I love going to Adelaide. The other reason I'm excited coming on Tuesday is that my birth mother, for those that are wondering about what my name is, my name will shortly legally be Graham Little near Peter Pope, because I was adopted, and at birth I was Peter Pope. My birth mother is buried in Centennial Park, and I couldn't find where that was a couple of weeks ago, and I went. I had a beautiful rose from my adoptive mother, June, who passed away, as some of you know, 6 weeks ago, to put on my birth mother's site. So I'm hoping that rose that I put in another little area not far is still there in Adelaide. So that's another little agenda I've got coming over. So we've got 10 minutes, we've got 2 minutes left. Okay, what's left on the agenda? The NHMRC. I've sent around to some of you the fact that from the 20th of July, federal government territory, that's a good time to be in Canberra maybe, I'll be there for the first of the talks from the NHMRC who would like to restructure and not give all their money to the Friends of Science in Medicine. They want to actually be fair and honest. No, of course they won't. They've got the Liberal Party, the no jab, no pay people running the place again. So, but anyway, we'll be there, and they're going all around the country, so we'll follow them around, meet all the prackies, and we'll suggest what the NHMRC should do with taxpayers' money. So that's from the 20th. The other point I put on the event list was why Cochrane collaboration reviews are the secret weapon to protect natural therapies from the current effective prohibition by our state governments. More on that next time, but study up your Cochrane, COCHRANE.org. That's your homework. Boy, there's a lot missing. And I think Associate Professor Marshall, you better check your Cochranes. I'm not too sure you quoted them all that accurately in that research paper you did in 2015. I printed out the 44 pages. I'm onto it. And with 1 minute to go, I've got some very, very, very exciting news. I've been chasing for her to come to Australia. The person who I think is the most courageous and potentially the most difficult to argue against on freedom of choice. And she has had an incredible background, and she stood up to her former employer, Merck, heard of them, and succeeded in bringing them to justice. Cost them $6 billion over the fraud behind the Vioxx, VIOXX, I think it is, drug, not a vaccine. But she's very, very vocal, as many of you know. Website Council for Safety of Vaccines, and also more particularly learntherisks.org. And that's what this game's about. Learn the risks. Things say that are safe and proven may not be. We all need to learn the risks, whether they're politicians or patients like me or practitioners or even associate professors or even friends of science. Brandy Vaughan will be coming to Australia. She's agreed to come the day before Oaks Day. Back on the track we'll be with all the women, all those pregnant women and all those 13-year-old adolescents thinking about what might be with Gardasil in their body. Brandy Vaughan is going to come to Australia. I'm so excited, and we've got another little agenda we're cooking up as well. So hi to Brandy if you're there. We've been tic-tacking all day, and the last probably 6 months since she linked in, and she is the most extraordinary, courageous woman. So I'll leave it there. Hopefully you've been able to see what's going on, and feel free to tell me what you'd like me to address next time, and anyone in Adelaide, let me know. And then that's for Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Thank you very much. All the best.